Okay, yeah, I'd just like to welcome everyone here to the Indigenous Wellness Training Society National 60 Scoop kind of like podcast, I guess, where we share stories of resilience about the 60 Scoop, which was a government policies that led to a large number of Indigenous children in Canada being removed from their families between 1950 and 1980, somewhere. And it's really like, in terms of birth order, you have the hero, the lost child, uh, the or the hero, scapegoat, lost child, and then the clown or whatever. So the hero is in our history, I guess, would be like the residential schools. They get a lot of attention. The lost child is the day schools, and then the scapegoat is the day schools, and then the lost child is a 60s group. So people don't really realize that, the residential school didn't really stop, but the 60s group was an extension of it. And I don't know, maybe Karen, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
So my name is Karen Longmere. I've known Jackson for a number of years. We worked together at Native Court Workers and a whole bunch of events too as well. Uh, Currently, I'm from Kanakabar First Nations from my mom's side, and Chem First Nation. Is it grandpa?
Yeah, Harry Edwards.
Yeah, uh, was a chief on Chem First Nations. Have family all over Chem, Swali, in the Chilliwack area, and education background. I took an addictions course and worked with adults, and then moving to Alberta, I'm working with youth with addictions. And my expectation is to watch where I work that company grow, because it's still it changed hands now. It's under new management, so hoping it'll grow and achieve the goals that they want. And so I'm going to introduce you to Denise here. She's going to tell her story.
All right. Thank you. Chickpeenik tells Squeak to Litzel to Salish Nation, talk to Giam. Saltamuk to Equala, Yatmatak Kusumukchit, Yatmatak to Squaltelchit, Yatmatatakwichit, Chichas Chithama A. My traditional name that I was given by my mother comes from around Chapman's in the Spuzzum area. And it goes back generations to through my maternal side, although I carry three names. And this one I carry, and I have to do the work because it's my family name. And this is my traditional land in the Fraser Valley in the Coast Salish Nation. Although my heritage branches into the entire Salish, I was raised in our home village of Chiam. That's where Karen and I share roots. And I'm just going to share the picture of our ancestor, if I can just put him up there. Harry Edwards is Karen's grandfather from Chiam, and her family was raised in Chiam with our family. And his grandfather is my grandmother's father. So we're related that way. And I can only tell you what I know, and I get the mathematicians to tell you how close we are, what number of cousins those are. But in my words and the words given to me by my ancestors, I tell you that this is my land, and I tell the Creator, we don't ask for things, so I'm just telling the Creator how thankful we are for this land and for the people. And I tell the Creator that we're thankful for the protection that's given to the people in their homes, for the protection that's given to the knowledge that comes down and trickles down to the people in their homes, and for the homes themselves. So I'm just, excuse me, it just brings a bit of emotion because, and I just thank the Creator so much for these things. So I come from the nation, and I was just using this reference yesterday. I'm just going to show it to you, the Chilliwacks and their neighbors. I'm just getting better at this, by Oliver Wells. And what I was doing with that yesterday is I was developing a little workshop for a program that my older sisters developed in Chiam. It's called Family Roots and Ties. And I want to highlight this little program. Even though I was going to tell you about our history, we're still here. And when we deal with our history, what we're doing is we're building the blocks for our future and for our children that might transcend our existence here. And so I have two older sisters who survived, 2 of 10 older siblings who survived the residential school. My mom survived Kamloops Indian Residential School. And she was there during the time that the 215 and all their associates, because there's more of them. But when those 215 were found, they were going missing during the time that my mom was in Kamloops. So our kids were getting taken away at different generations, and our elders were watching, and they were doing things. They were reacting at home in different ways to try and save the kids, and they still are today. So our Family Roots and Ties program is it's a current thing that we're doing right now for the children who are currently in care. And so what we do is we provide a safe space where we set the table. The kids, their foster parents, and their biological families are all welcome to sit down at the same table with us as the elders and the matriarchs in the community. We feed them, and then we do a little activity with them. And then we just let them just be themselves in our gym and just share with each other. And it's pretty simple, but it seems to be a real effective way to bring together the matriarchy and the care. Because what the Indian Act and what all of the government policies has done, from what I can see, is it's taken the care of our children away from our matriarchs. And it's put it in the hands of colonial thinkers who don't have the same agenda as our matriarchs do for our kids. So I was doing this workshop for Roots and Ties yesterday, and I was looking through my resources, and I'm thinking about my group. And, our kids have actually, it's a real compound situation in a little nutshell there when you see them come together. And you're preparing a cultural activity for them. A lot of them are coming in with things like autism, ADHD. A lot of them are bipolar. A lot of them are just angry. And as I've observed the system that's called child protection, both in Canada and in the United States, and how sorely lacking they are for actually protecting the children themselves. We're doing this thing instead where it's child focused. So another program that I really want to highlight too before I go is in the Stalo Nation too. And I have children, or my offspring are working in 2 different ones. One is called Teddy's Homes and the other one is called Peter's Homes. And they're child centered as well. And so what they do is they build a program around the child, and instead of picking the child up and moving them all the time, when things don't work out, they look at the workers and the effectiveness of the program itself and build it around and provide the cultural environment for them through local Indigenous cultural support workers and activities. And I think that we need to look at those things, just looking to the future. So now I'm going to pop back to the 60s scoop. And pardon me, where I was 10 of my siblings in 1960 were at St. Mary's Residential School in Mission, and I was getting ready then to go to kindergarten, and I thought I was going to go the year before, and I didn't get to go because they had found out that there was abuse at the residential school. And as a person, I felt robbed. I thought, it was my turn. All the kids went to the garden, are still there, and our perception of what's going on is so odd because we're children. And I think that's where I really focus now, is how the child perceives the situation is so different than the top-down policymakers and even the parents who were there compelled to send their kids and trying to explain to them why they did that. So I was at home and waiting to go to residential school and angry because I didn't. And I was the first of the 17 children that survived not to go to residential school. And I had to wait at home for a year until 1960 to go to school. And they arranged then to make a deal with St. Mary's Catholic School in Chilliwack, which made a real difference on my situation, as opposed to, say, day school or residential school survivors. Is I survived a Catholic school, but it didn't qualify for any of this stuff. So that was one kind of slap in the side. But as I went along, I really loved school. I thought it was a great thing, and I started in grade 1, and I went through St. Mary's in Chilliwack to grade 7, and it was really funny because, and this is how the scoop affected me, is kind of watched as Karen's mother got took. She got took off the reserve by strangers. And then other kids, and they were just these white women, pulitam slali in our language, came and took them, and white men too. And the white men were very bad. In reflection, that's a whole different can of worms, is the white men who came and took our kids into care from Chiang. But they came and took them, and I just saw the kids disappear. And in our home, we had still 8 kids left in our house. And so Karen's dad, or Karen's grandpa, was the hereditary chief of the Pulau tribe. That's this tribe. He's our hereditary chief, Harry Edward. And in the 60s, I don't know, or in the 50s actually, he was aging, and his interests were moving more toward dairy farming and less toward the Indigenous agenda that our great grandfather somewhere along the line, Alexis Louis, heralded. Harry Edwards talks about, in the Chilliwacks and their neighbors, he talks about his grandfather, Alexis Louis, who you can find in the back of this historical atlas that was compiled for us by Dr. Keith Carlson in the Stalo Nation. And Alexis Louis is our common ancestor. And at the time, so my grandmother is Philomena Louis, and that's Harry Edwards' either his aunt or his cousin. And to me, it doesn't matter. I haven't really traced the exact relationship, but to me, it doesn't matter. I know for a fact who I am. And I know for a fact where I came from and where my people are. So what happened just that it's intermittent, I think, and it was fitting that I should find this, looking for those kids, because these kids are real special to work with. And so I was really getting some real special things to talk to them about animals. And excuse me, as I was digging through my stuff to go, I reread Harry Edwards's section in the Chilliwacks and their neighbors, and I thought, oh, I gotta keep this together, because he tells us in our Palau area, and as he's going along, he tells us our places, and these are places that we own. This is Alexis Louis' father, Louis Squattich. And Louis Squattich he called my dad Sonny, and he gave him a fishing ground as a wedding gift. And so that's one of our big places. And then we have Seata over in Agassiz. But anyway, just to scoot through them really fast, is that what he did was he told us not only who we are, but where we are, our traditional lands and these names. And I think that even though we're catching up with it now, our leaders can use this information. And my elders told me, because I was so fortunate, is that everything that has come to you, there's a reason for it, and you're going to be able to use that someday. And there's a reason why you're learning this and why they're coming to you. And because I think at the time they saw how our network was breaking, and they started pumping into the strong ones like they pumped into my dad. And Harry pumped everything into my dad, and he put him as the next hereditary chief. And my dad served until he died in 1969. My older brother took over from there, but it's in the family, and it really did indicate that we are family, and Harry recognized that. So I was so fortunate to stay home, but through the 60s, and go back and forth on the bus from Chiam to St. Mary's in Chilliwack. But during that time, the social workers were taking all the other kids from Chiam. And we didn't get took. And this is a word that Harry Edwards shared it's called squam. In this story, and squam was the word I wanted to take and share with you. Squam. And squam, it's the act, or it might be something the elders might say really quick, and they're telling the kids, okay, you kids go hide away because there's going to be a raid. And the kids would all run to the mountains, or they'd run to the forest where people couldn't find them. And this is everything that exists, it's in our language. So squam was the act of the children running away and hiding from the raids. And that's what the 7 of us used to do when we'd see the social worker come driving down the road, and we'd squam. We'd run up into our attic, and we'd watch her from through all the nail holes, and him. They actually all came. And we hid away from them, and we ended up to be the little group of res kids. And I say we gave a face to the name res kids, because we didn't get took away, and we're real res kids. I mean, I'm not ashamed to be the res kid. And I was kind of the leader of the pack too. Nobody could touch any of my family from the other families. But if anybody from Chiam came around and they tried to pick on any of the other families' kids, me and my brothers protected them. And we lived at the edge of the reserve too, so we did that. So skipping ahead to the future, what happened was all those kids got took away. And it's really sad, because I see the social impacts of these kids, and, they're all over the cities. And they're having to find out who they are now. And every one of them is on their idiosyncratic mission to culture. That's what I say. they lost culture. They would really love to have culture. They see other people, maybe even like myself, just kind of, throwing around like, but I do throw it around. Well, I do teach the kids our culture, and I do give people resources just like these ones that I gave you. If you want to see, and I say it's all in our language, our culture is all in our language. And this I helped work on with our linguist, Brent Galloway, who's gone now. But we did this work at Cocolita, and what he did was he did a lot of categories of the language. And in there you can see a list of how we relate to each other by how the words are. And that's on page 108 of that book. And we do relate to each other. We have a reality. Our existence, although our past has been checkered and pieces have been pulled away from us, through time, our elders have made sure to keep certain threads alive and certain kids with our eyes open. And I grew up with my eyes open. I didn't have the liberty of laziness or, of frivolity. We grew up protecting the culture and protecting the shreds that we had left. You'll see it in these few resources that I give you. You can see where resilience is, how resilience works in hard times, because they made direct moves, and my dad called it direct action. And if you see, okay, so I got took away to a boarding home program. That was a kind of a weird part of the 60s scoop. At the end of it, they didn't call it foster homes. They called it the boarding home program. And they thought that what they would do is take us then and put us in high schools in cities, and maybe then we might urbanize quicker. Well, we sure did, but I was close enough to home to come home every weekend. I got put in lots of different cities, but most of them I came home. So I was scooped, but my dad kind of held on to the back of my shirt, and he was very aware, and he was very active about trying to get all our kids back. And I remember, and I'm just going to end with this, that he took my first cousin who got pregnant, and this was right after she came home from residential school, and she didn't know what to do because she didn't know it was going to end up in pregnancy. There was no abortions in that then. She was going to give the baby up. And he said, no, we're done with that. We take care of our own babies. And he said, from now on, no permanency away from Chiam. And I still echo that. Whenever anybody's starting to try to scoop anybody, even if it's non-native families, I'll tout the words of my ancestors all the way, because they gave me all the words I need. And so that's the reason why I'm talking to you today, is because I'm still here, is because I survived a lot of the things that they tried. And my ancestors were, I'm going to call it praxis. They practiced praxis in an adult education form, is that they always reflected on what they were doing any given day and how things were going. They analyzed their situation and they made changes as they saw fit, whatever they had to do. And if you follow my family's history after the 60s, which is, we started off in 1969 walking in moccasin miles, and we did a lot of different things to try and save the kids after that. Then you'll see that some of us, we weren't taken, and we weren't taken for a reason. By the Creator left us here. We think that some of us were so lucky to have to fight different battles, but we stayed home. I'm going to say some of the implications into the future. I'm going to start with the bad things, is the social workers were pedophiles, a lot of in Chilliwack. And a lot of them were homosexual male, or a lot of them. One, maybe two, but one in particular was a homosexual male who had disclosed that he had assaulted no less than 800 boys. And it really got my math going as to the age, the possible people that could have been in his care, and where they are today, and who their kids are. And when you look on the streets of Chilliwack today, well, we're lucky because the mayor did some single unit dwellings, but a lot of our people are drug addicted and homeless because they can't function in the homes. And so when you think of the words that my elders gave me, it's a really hard job to take care of the people in their homes, to take care of the teachings in their homes, and to take care of those homes. So anyway, at the end of it all, I'm going to say this, is that I am still here, and that's what my elders said. Okay, get out there because nobody else might be doing it for different reasons, and it's not for you to understand their reasons for not doing it, but they might not be able to do it. And they raised us to be strong. We ate well. They raised us to go to school and to be alert to our surroundings. They raised us to know. So my teachings were always know where you come from and always know who your people are. And it's two things that have been a real parameter to knowing that Karen's my cousin, that Karen's actually my sister. And maybe even in our way, Karen might be my daughter, because we telescope in our way and our family relations are like that. And that's why Harry handed my dad the chieftainship, because they were close and they were still here and they were looking with educated eyes and within our own ranks what we had to do and who was going to do it. So we're still here. What I see with the children coming home now is that we're having to work really hard to help them scrape their culture back up. And, a lot of them are displaced. So a lot of the culture they're trying to pull together is kind of eclectic. It's not really their home culture, and they're kind of seeking that. And that creates problems in the nations too with some of the traditionalists. There's still clashes there, and those are things that we have to overcome. Is how do we help the kids come back and get a culture that's meaningful to them? And that's, I guess, why I started off with the family roots and ties, which I think more nations should look into and build in their own community. It's really simple to do. It's as hard as setting the table and getting some cultural activities, a small one. So that's what we do, and that's our future. My sisters are residential school survivors. I survived kind of a 60s scoop. What I was put in homes with Native women who married white men. And because of that, I did not qualify then for the 60s scoop, which was kind of interesting because there was an Indian in the home. So you got to read the fine print too, where you fit in there, because they got it all covered somehow. I think especially for people like myself, if you give me too much, I could do too much, I think. And I really feel that the government is that articulate that they track they have a band number for each and every one of us. They have some records for every kid they took away. And they do have our school records and things that happened. And I really believe in this, that there's this broad platform that we have to kind of smash down. I just believe that. And it's where I go with my actions is I always believe my own conspiracy theories and act on it if I see a way that I can. So with that, I think I'm going to leave you guys. I don't know if I missed anything I was originally intending to give you, but I want to leave you with that and with the concept that we are still here. And we don't dwell on the doom and gloom of the past and what built us and what took us to here. We use that as our lily pad and we leap off it onto, well, then what? What do we do as a result of that? And that's what I'm sharing also at the university, that we have probably the worst doom and gloom past you could muster up, but that's not where we live. We're living now, looking into where our utopia, wherever that is. And I always kind of put it back to the government has a fiduciary obligation to get us there, to make us happy Indians. So we have people on our council right now that I believe that we can work with that, could make these changes for us. And I say that also as keep in touch with your tribal, like whoever you find to be your tribal roots or any tribal roots. Go there and ask them to help you get back to that or help you, find a place in your heritage. And that's what I do. I work at the University of the Fraser Valley in student support. And that's one of the things I do that helps. I see that student success just bounds forward when they get a good handle on who they are and where they came from. So I'm going to leave it with that because that's been my marching orders, is never forget that. And I just got to thank the creator that we didn't get scooped in all those attempts that, we peeked through the nail holes at them and giggled our heads off when they left. I'd really, really love to see it from the outside, all of us kids at Chiam, because in fact, there were we were already browbeaten down in Chiam because a lot of our older siblings weren't even there to protect us. They were in the residential school. So when those social workers came, they were just toddlers running around. So they were easy to catch. And it really bothers me to think of that, from a bird's eye view, the hunters that came in and preyed on our kids. And I'm not settled with it yet. We gotta fix that and fix the attitude that lives in Canada that sees us as prey. So yeah, with that, I'm just thanking you for honoring my name and my place in this world, Karen. Calling on me to share this.
Sorry, how do you say your traditional name?
This one you say Chickpeenik.
Chickpeenik.
Yeah, and Chickpeenik comes out as Spuzum. She's Weiss James's sister. And so she married Thompson Jim at Devil's Run. So this is, I just caught up with this name. And as I trace my names and my history where I got them from, Mom had a dream in the 1990s. And I called that one this one's my ancestral name, but I do have a spiritual name that was brought to me by my grandmother's sister. So that's in the family. And that's what led me to understand my relationship to Karen, is when I grew into that name, Hiathelwood, and how I got it. is how I realized Harry Edwards is my grandmother's close relative. I knew that all along, but it told me how we're related is through my name. And that name means to pick up the people and carry them. And so it's a working name. And
Yeah.
so that, I think that's why they came to me, because same reason that Harry gave my dad the chieftainship. His cousin gives my aunt, my granddad, gives me the work of picking people up and carrying them around. Yeah, it's how our language is how our people think. So that's my other name. And as I ran around having fun, I carried a name, and you see it all over the place. Even my email is Esselwood. But that's just, it's a hook. And you carry those, Mom said, a hook. As you're growing up and kind of just doing things, and you're a good friend, just a female who's a good friend. You're a girl running around being a good friend to people. So I did that for a while. I finally grew up now. I'm doing the work that I have to do to honor the other two names that were brought to me, gifted.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
I own them. So good party to understand that. And hopefully all our kids get names like me. You know, that's what we haven't done, is the traditional names, and that's what really gives them their self back, their whole.
Yeah. That's so true. Because
Yeah.
I remember asking my dad, how do I get a name, or what do I have to do?
Oh
Right.
yeah, Terry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not lost, and you're actually related to me on that family too. See, it goes back to my grandfather on Mom's side is a
Yeah.
priest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we have to do is set the table in the families with the oldest woman in the family and start talking. That's what you got to do. Start doing this to get your name. Is you got to start setting the table. It's an
Okay.
interesting. You just got to eat together, put it on the table. There's genealogy as well. They're really helpful. They've done a lot of work for me, just going and getting some of the things I know are out there, and could you find it for me so they can help you. But I say set the table with your family, continue to do that as you go along, and on the bigger families too. And we need to do that for all the kids. They need to go home and they need to share traditional foods with their family. And I say DNA, that when they actually sit together, that's what we were robbed, is the sharing of DNA. That's a whole other branch, of thinking that I'm working on right now, is that when you pull a baby from a mother, there's an exchange going on there that they cut into, just like they cut into your blood flow. So, but anyway, let's just leave it at that, and maybe we can talk in the future on some things that have come up now that are worthy of much more deliberation and dialogue.
Well, that was amazing. I even learned some things today too, Denise. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's Karen.
I'd love to keep working with you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love seeing you girls, you and Brenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my family. I love seeing all the kids. I love working with them too.
Okay. Well, thank you for your knowledge, and we'll keep in touch. And do you have
Yeah,
any other
for
words,
sure.
Jackson?
Yeah. I learned about boarding homes. I didn't know about that, and yeah, I'd like to
Oh,
thank you for yeah your courage and
boarding home program. Yeah.
yeah courage and openness and the teachings and like yeah, you basically covered the whole gamut from where we were at to where we sort of need to go and yeah
Yeah.
so this live stream will be on our on YouTube there. I could send you the link as
Oh,
well.
thank you. Oh,
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, and
yeah.
I'll share it at the university, the Fraser Valley, where I work. I'm an elder in residence in the student support division. We
Mm.
we support faculty as well, and we got a pretty hefty team there. We're indigenizing the institution. I think that's the other part, is to encourage our kids to continue their education, because they're
Yeah.
smart. They're smarter. Like my parents used to say, you're smarter than the average bears.
Mhm.
And they are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so this
Thanks.
was great. And yeah, we have a lot of on the page I'll be sending. We have some resources, frequently asked questions and stuff like that. And
Okay.
I'd like to thank the viewers for watching. And like, we're going to try to create a community as well for 60 Scoop on our website, and where people
Okay.
could put up posts and stuff like that. And maybe, it's kind of like a internal Facebook almost. It's free to join and things like
Yeah.
that too, for education and support.
I'll share that too. I got lots of
Awesome.
friends.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll just push the button here, but
Yeah.
just give me a second.